Have you ever noticed how your front door feels before you open it? Not just how it looks, but how it greets you or warns you. The way it holds silence, the way it holds stillness, like a mirror of what you've let in or what you've kept out. In Feng Shui, your entryway is not just an entrance, it's the mouth of Qi. The first breath your home takes, the first whisper your energy hears before anything else. But what if that breath is blocked? What if it exhales more than it receives? What if the very threshold you cross each day is quietly turning energy away? Maybe there's clutter. Maybe the light never touches that space. Maybe the door sticks or never fully opens. Maybe you've stopped seeing it, like a part of you stopped being seen. This isn't just about design. It's about what you're letting the world know every time you step in or out. Because your entrance is speaking, and it might be saying, "I'm not ready." In this video, we'll explore 5 quiet mistakes that may be draining your energy and repelling prosperity right at your front door, and how to shift them not just with decor, but with intention. Let's begin where it all begins. You don't have to slam a door to keep something out. Sometimes just not clearing the path to it is enough. We think rejection is loud, but in truth, it can be silent, covered in leaves, stacked in shoes, hidden behind cardboard boxes you meant to throw away months ago. That's how opportunities disappear, not with drama, but with distance. They see the tangled walkway, the forgotten welcome mat, and they hesitate, not because they don't love you, but because they don't feel invited. Energy is shy like that. It listens to the silence before the knock. And if your path whispers, "Not now," it turns away like a bird that never lands. Because what can't approach won't arrive. And what doesn't feel welcomed will stop trying to come back. A blocked path isn't just physical. It's emotional, it's spiritual. It says, maybe I don't believe good things are on their way. And the universe listens. In Feng Shui, the space that leads to your front door is known as the Ming Tang, the bright hall where Qi first gathers before deciding to enter. It's not just a walkway, it's the first conversation your home has with the universe. When this space is open, clean, and cared for, energy lingers, like a guest who knows they're welcome. But when it's blocked, narrow, cluttered, or shadowed, Qi stutters. It pauses. It questions whether it should come in at all. A cracked path, a sagging doormat, a pile of forgotten shoes. These are not just messes, they are messages. Subtle signals that say, "Not yet, I'm not ready, I've stopped expecting beauty." And so energy listens and obeys. Because the door doesn't open into your house, it opens into your field, your mind, your life's receptivity. A blocked Ming Tang isn't just an energetic misstep, it's an unspoken belief that goodness must stay on the other side. Imagine a dear friend comes to visit. They bring warmth, good news, maybe even healing. But when they arrive, they see a narrow walkway, a tilted trash bin, weeds, and forgotten packages. They pause, not because they don't care, but because they're not sure. If you want to be seen, energy is that friend. It reads your environment like body language. And clutter even accidental whispers, "Please don't come too close." So the friend turns back quietly, still holding the gift they brought, not in anger, but in respect. Modern studies in environmental psychology have revealed a truth Feng Shui has long understood, that the spaces we pass through first hold a disproportionate influence on our mental and emotional state. When the entryway is cluttered, crowded, or dimly lit, it sends stress signals to the brain. Even before we consciously register them, our nervous system is wired for survival, and a blocked path, even in a modern home, registers as an obstacle, a threat, a reason to stay alert. This means, even before you remove your shoes, your body is already bracing. Repeated exposure to disordered thresholds trains the brain to associate coming home with tension, not relief, with task mode, not rest mode. Over time, this creates a loop of subtle avoidance. You enter faster, leave faster, and begin skipping the entry entirely. The place that should gather you back becomes the place you emotionally glide over, never truly landing. It doesn't just affect visitors, it shapes your inner state, because healing begins at the edge, where your breath meets the door, where your home says, "You're safe now." So the next time you come home, pause not to unlock the door, but to feel the space that leads you there. Does it feel like an invitation or a hesitation? Because energy doesn't push, it responds. It lands where it's welcomed. Every blessing, every breakthrough, he needs somewhere to land, and that landing begins at the threshold. You're not broken. You've just forgotten how to expect good things. But the path can be cleared. The message can change. And energy will return. Because the journey of Qi doesn't end at the door. It begins there. And sometimes what pushes energy away isn't outside, but waiting just behind the frame. Let's take one step further inside, because the next mistake, he might already be hiding in your hallway. Not all darkness is dramatic. Sometimes it's soft, the kind that gathers dust in corners no one notices, the kind that lives near the door but never greets you, the kind that doesn't shout but whispers, "Nothing beautiful happens here." You don't need a broken bulb to feel unseen. You just need the absence of warmth, the absence of care, because energy, like people, doesn't stay where it doesn't feel celebrated, and light doesn't rise where no one ever opens the blinds. In Feng Shui, the entry is the mouth of Kai, but it's also the first filter through which energy decides what kind of space it's walking into. When this area is dark, neglected, or emotionally empty, it becomes a signal there is no vitality here. Qi responds not only to form, but to feeling. And darkness isn't just a lack of light, it's a presence of disconnection. If your entrance is dim, unloved, unlit, it slowly becomes a barrier to life force, a shadow that stretches inward, quietly dulling every corner of the home. Imagine walking into someone's home. The entry is cold. The lights are off. No scent, no sound, no signs of life. You hesitate, even if the rest of the house is beautiful, because the first few seconds tell you everything. Energy does the same. It doesn't wait to be impressed. It decides at the door whether it wants to stay, whether you care enough to make the space feel like a beginning, not just a passage. Neuroscience shows that light directly affects mood, memory, and motivation. Dim, uncared for spaces can lower serotonin levels, increase fatigue, and subtly reinforce feelings of invisibility. In healing work, the doorway is symbolic. It represents transition, initiation, the threshold between who you've been and who you're becoming. But when that threshold is shrouded in shadow, so is your inner permission to grow. A dark entryway doesn't just block energy, it blocks becoming. It says, "I'm not ready for the light," and healing waits at the door. You don't have to renovate. You don't have to repaint. Sometimes, just one light left on by the door is enough to tell the world, "I am home and I am open," because energy arrives where light is kept, where life is honored, where someone, even just you, remembers to leave a little brightness for the soul returning home. Sometimes the room is quiet, but something still feels off. A flicker, a tilt, a barely there vibration, like the space is holding its breath, waiting for something to go wrong. And you feel it, not with your eyes, but with your chest. That overhead light that hums too loud or swings just slightly like a question mark above your life. We call it just a light. But our bodies don't think that way. They read every flicker as a warning, every tilt as a lack of care, every hum as a signal. Be alert. In Feng Shui, overhead lighting at the entry is deeply symbolic. It governs the heavenly energy, what flows from above into your life path. A crooked, flickering, or unstable light disrupts the energetic clarity of your home's welcome. It creates what's called chaotic qi, invisible turbulence that scatters focus, disorients the flow of intention, and subtly tells the universe, this home is not in alignment, because light from above isn't just for seeing, it's for setting tone, establishing sacred order, calling in harmony from the first second of arrival. Imagine stepping into a hotel lobby. The ceiling lamp is crooked. The chandelier blinks every few seconds. Would you trust the rest of the building? Now imagine this is your home, and the first thing you and energy see is something unstable, unattended, off balance. It doesn't matter how beautiful the rest is. That one light sets the tone, and your body feels it like the brain catches background noise, even when you try to ignore it. Research shows that subtle environmental disruptions, like flickering lights or asymmetry, can trigger low-grade anxiety, increase cortisol levels, and compromise the nervous system's ability to fully down-regulate. This is especially true at entry points, where the brain expects predictable signals of safety. When those signals are off, even slightly, the body shifts into micro-alert mode, and it builds over days, over weeks, until coming home no longer feels relaxing, but unconsciously unsettling. In healing practice, this is known as nervous imprinting, where the body remembers what the mind ignores. So straighten the light, replace the flicker, silence the hum, not for appearance, but for peace. Because the body notices everything. And when your space says steady, your soul finally believes it's okay to rest. Your home doesn't have to be perfect, but it should feel aligned. And the most powerful way to invite calm isn't silence, it's stability. Let's keep moving forward, because what's next isn't hanging in the air, but lurking just underfoot. Sometimes the most powerful message is the one we step over. You don't think much about the doormat, but it's the first thing the world touches. Before it touches you, the first surface where energy makes contact. And what does it feel? A mat that's frayed, faded, soaked in yesterday's dust. A space that says, "Come in, I guess, but don't expect to feel welcomed." You may not notice it anymore, but your nervous system does. And so does the universe. Because even stillness sends a signal. Even silence has tone. In Feng Shui, the doormat is part of the entry portal, not just a place to wipe shoes, but a symbolic membrane between the outer world and your inner life. It holds energetic memory. It tells incoming ki what kind of space it's about to enter. When the mat is clean, clear, and intentionally placed, it acts like a gentle handshake, welcoming, grounding, affirming. But when it's worn, dirty, or neglected, it becomes an energetic repellent, a soft boundary that says, this space isn't tended. This energy isn't cared for. Energy, like people, notices when it's invited versus when it's tolerated. And the mat is the message. Imagine arriving at someone's home. You ring the bell. You look down and see a mat that's torn, discolored, with no warmth, no welcome, just fatigue. You feel it instantly, that sense of being received half-heartedly, as if you're intruding, as if your presence is an afterthought. And you carry that feeling inside, even before a single word is said. Energy does exactly the same. It notices the quality of the threshold because the first step sets the tone for the entire journey. Subtle cues in the environment, especially at transition points, are known to prime emotional state. The brain registers a cue like a clean versus dirty mat and immediately assigns meaning, safety, and worth. A neglected doormat reinforces a subconscious narrative. This place is not maintained. This boundary isn't honored. This isn't a safe threshold. Over time, this creates cognitive weariness, a low-level unease that chips away at your ability to fully arrive, fully land, fully belong in your own space. In somatic healing, the feet are symbolic of grounding, of belonging, of moving forward. So when the very first thing they step on is unstable or unpleasant, healing falters before it even begins. You don't need a luxury rug. You just need to say, "This threshold matters," and let your care be visible from the ground up. Because how you greet the world is how the world greets you back. And sometimes the most powerful shifts begin beneath your feet. So look down, clean the mat, replace it if you must. Let it say what your soul has always meant. "Welcome, I've been waiting for you." That's what the mat should say. "Welcome, I've been waiting for you." But then you look up and the next thing you see isn't warmth. It isn't softness. It's your own reflection, cold, flat, immediate. You've barely stepped in, and already you're being turned back. Sometimes what repels doesn't slam, it reflects. A mirror facing the entry doesn't scream, it returns. Before energy can settle, before your presence can even land, it meets itself and gets sent away. This mirror, quiet, pretty, unbothered, becomes the most elegant rejection. A smile with no embrace. A doorway with no depth, because when a home reflects instead of receiving, what arrives never stays. Not peace, not prosperity, not you. In classical Feng Shui, a mirror directly facing the front door is one of the most disruptive placements. The main entrance is the mouth of Ku, the very beginning of energy's journey into the home. But a mirror here reflects that energy immediately, sending it back outside before it can circulate. This creates energetic deflection. Good fortune can't land. Opportunities pass by. The home feels unsettled, like nothing ever really stays. Instead of grounding the space, the energy escapes it. Imagine someone finally opens up to you. They step in emotionally. They try to share, to connect, but you reflect everything back. You mirror their words, their tone. Without receiving, without softening, they leave feeling unseen, unheld, like they were never truly let in. That's what a mirror does at the entry. It reflects, but never receives. It bounces, but never absorbs. And energy, like people, needs to be received to stay. Neurologically, the brain scans entry points for cues of safety. A mirror placed directly across the door creates visual distortion, splits focus, and confuses spatial orientation. This sends subtle stress signals to the nervous system, like walking toward openness, but being bounced back. Therapeutic design confirms mirrored surfaces at transitional zones can trigger overstimulation, disorientation, and a subconscious feeling of being unwelcome. In Feng Shui terms, if Qi can't enter and settle, neither can peace. Neither can you. So take a moment. Look again at your entry. Is a mirror the first thing you see, or the first thing that sees you? And what does it reflect back? An invitation or a return to the outside? Reposition the glass. Let energy arrive without being sent away. Let presence land. Let abundance breathe. Because the way you shape your entrance is the way you shape your beginning. And that is what all 5 of these mistakes have in common. They don't scream. They don't shout. They whisper subtly, quietly, that you're not ready, that you don't believe something good is on its way. But the moment you notice them, or really notice them, everything begins to shift. Because in Feng Shui, awareness is action, and the energy you invite in starts with the space you're willing to open. We often think of the front door as just a passage, a place we pass through on our way in or out. But in Feng Shui, your entry is your introduction. It's where your home first speaks, where your energy first decides how it wants to feel. And every object, every flicker of light, every step you take before you step inside says something. It says, "Welcome," or "Not yet." So if your home has been quiet lately, if your life has felt stuck at the gate, maybe it's not a lack of luck. Maybe it's just a door that hasn't been cleared, lit, or aligned to let the right things in. The good news? Energy listens. And it doesn't need perfection, only permission. So today, start small. Straighten the light. Clear the path. Wipe the mat. Shift the mirror. And then stand at your own doorway like someone who expects something beautiful to arrive. Because when you do, it usually does. This is the wisdom of Feng Shui. Not superstition, but sacred intention, rooted in your space, reflected in your life. If this message found you, then maybe it's time to come home to your own energy, starting at the door. Your space speaks. Wisdom listens.